everybody, this is Monicah Karaoke and you are watching another episode of Silent Voices. Today we are so privileged, so honored to have with us Mr. Diego Fuller, who is going to walk us through his life, and I hope you get to watch this and learn something from it. Mr. Diego, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing, Miss Monica?
Good. Thank you for having time to come and talk to us here at Silent Voices.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Awesome. Is it okay if I can call you Diego?
That's fine. Is it okay if I call you Miss Monica?
Absolutely. Okay. All right, Diego. You have a painful past.
Yes.
And now I could say you are a success story.
Yes.
You are able to overcome that. We would like for you to walk us through what you have been through up to where you are today, because I think a lot of people out there would learn so much from you.
Right.
So at 8 years old, you came home, found that all your things had been packed up.
Correct.
And you had to go somewhere. But before that, walk us through what was going on for somebody to decide that you had to leave the home, an 8-year-old child.
Right. Well, my dad, when I grew up, I grew up without my mom and my dad in my life. And my dad, when I turned 3 years old, my dad went to jail for domestic violence for beating my mom. And so, and also he also raped and beat a police officer. And so some other things happened on top of that. They got life in jail. And so my mom was trying to take care of me. I had a brother that was 2 years older than me, a sister that was 2 years older than him, and then my older sister, 3 years older than my sister. So I was the baby of the family. Aww. So I was the baby, the cutest and all of that.
Yeah.
And so I had 2 sisters, 1 brother, and my mom was trying to care for us. She eventually got caught up in the whole drug life, and then she went to jail. And so my whole life she spent about 20 plus years in jail. And so my sister was about almost 15 at the time, and she was trying to care for me. We were staying with my grandfather on my mom's side, who was very sick. He had just got cancer. He was getting ready to pass away. And so she was really trying to care for us and take care of him at the same time. Once he got admitted into the hospital, his situation got worse. He passed away. And my sister was like 15 years old trying to take care of me and my other siblings. And so long story short, we moved out of where we were staying because she didn't want anybody to know where we were staying at. So we moved into this thing, into this home, a duplex. And a duplex is, for those who don't know what a duplex is, it's one big old house with a wall divided down the middle. And on one side is you, other side is your neighbors. Might be some ugly neighbors, some fat neighbors, but they're your neighbors. And so, but in this case, we have some nosy neighbors, you know, so they knew exactly everything that was going on at our house. But being there, being molested, not having my mom, not having my dad, just going through so much, I was that young man that was like really hurt. I was really mad. I was upset. And I just felt like, you know, my mom and dad just wasn't there for me. So when I went to go stay with my grandmother, I was just really, quote unquote, super bad. I would miss school. I wouldn't do any homework. I started failing classes. I was just really bad. And so one day, after being there for a few years, I stayed there for a few years, but one day I came home, I got off the bus, and I walked into the house, and all of my bags was packed up inside the house. And so when I asked her, I said, "Hey, Grandma," I said, "Why is all my bags packed?" And she looked me in the eye. She was like, "Diego, honestly, I mean, you're just too bad for us to handle, and we can't handle you." And so at that time, that's when she grabbed my bags, she put them in the van, and she drove down to the CPS office, and she dropped me off with a dude that I didn't know who he was. I didn't know his name. I didn't know anything about him. I just knew that, you know, she dropped me off with this guy on the steps, and she drove off, and they just left me on the steps. And everybody that broke my heart, everybody that said, you know, that I thought that was going to be there for me, you know, that I thought loved me, I just knew my grandmother loved me. I knew she wouldn't do me like that, but that was like one of the things that crushed me. And I remember just standing there just crying and just yelling, "Please don't leave me here." And there I was. That's the reason. That's what led up to my bags being packed and my grandma sending me off and just letting me know that she just couldn't handle me because my behavior issues. And that's how that all happened.
Oh, wow. Such a painful childhood.
Yes.
So once your bags were packed, you went from foster home to foster home.
Right, yes.
Tell us about that.
Yeah. So when I got to the CPS office and she had dropped me off with that guy that was standing there, I didn't know him. He didn't know me. He tried to give me something to eat. I didn't want to eat anything.
Yeah. You upset?
Yeah, I was upset.
Yeah.
I was so mad. And that night, that whole night, I stayed a night in the office because they couldn't find a place for me to go.
Right.
And so the next morning, They was looking for somebody to take me in, somewhere for me to go, and they sent me to a couple different shelters, emergency shelters. That's where they send kids that doesn't have a place to go until they find them a foster family or a group home. But I went into a few different shelters, and they was looking for me to go stay with somebody, but they couldn't find anywhere for me to go. So I went from shelter to shelter. Then I ended up staying in this one shelter for about 8 to 9 months, and no family would take a chance on me. They'd look at my rap sheet and they'd be like, okay, Diego, that kid too bad.
So are they looking at your previous behavior?
Right, most definitely.
And that is what was deterring them from taking you, because they're thinking, oh, I cannot deal with that either.
Exactly, yeah. And so I would even go visit some homes for one night just to see how that family would like me or whatever. But I was on my best behavior, but they still didn't want to take
for that
chance
one night.
Right, for that one night, and then I go back to the shelter. And so it was almost like, we'd give them a trial, like a one-day trial. And so, but no family would take a chance on me. Nobody wanted me. And I remember I was staying in this group home with, it was an all-boys home. It was actually a shelter. It wasn't a group home, it was a shelter, but it was all boys in a shelter. And it was boys that just didn't have a place to go to. And I remember once I first got in there, anybody that said anything to me, all I wanted to do was fight them. They look at me crazy, I'll fight them. They talk to me, I would fight them. I just wanted to fight. I wanted people to feel my pain because I was hurting so bad when I was in this home. But I met this guy, a staff member that was working there. His name was Bill Spiller. He played with the San Diego Chargers, an NFL football player. And of course, I love football to death. You couldn't tell me anything. I thought I was the greatest football player in the world. Everybody else probably thought I sucked, but I thought I was pretty good. And so I thought I was really, really, really good. And so our conversation with me and Mr. Bill, we always talk about football. No matter what it is, he bring up football. That's the only thing that calm me down, And so even when I'm mad, I'm fighting the guy. We're talking about football, and I just get calm. I don't know. I just knew I was going to the NFL. And so one day we was playing Madden. Me and him were sitting down. We were just talking, having a conversation, and then he slipped these words in there, and he was like, "Diego, I just want to let you know I love you," and I didn't think nothing of it, but I kind of like gave him like the side eye, like what, like that's weird, why would you say that, And this was after being there for a while, for a few months.
And how old are you now?
14.
Okay.
He would tell me this, I love you. Next day he come, he told other young men too. And so one day I was like, Mr. Bill, I said, look, I like you. I said, please don't make me not like you. I said, please don't tell me that you love me.
Oh, wow.
And he was like, why you say that? And I said, well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I said, because love to me, I said, love is hurt, love is pain. Love is my family neglecting me. Love is everybody that told me that they loved me. They hurt me, they neglected me, they weren't there for me. I was molested, that's love to me. So love is pain. So when you tell me you love me, I feel like you're the enemy towards me, and it makes me want to act out against you. As I didn't tell him in those words. I was so much younger, but I told him it was in that nutshell of what I told him. But the next day, he came back and he said, I love you again. That was when I was ready to fight him, but he was in the NFL. He looked big, muscly. I'm just this little 14-year-old kid. And I was like, okay, that'll be a mistake, And so I left it alone. And so, but I guess it was planting a seed, Every time he told me he loved me, I knew I couldn't do nothing about it. And so I just let him say it. After being there for about 8 months, I got a call from my caseworker, and my caseworker was like, hey, we got your biological brother. He's staying with Bishop Aaron Blake. And so Bishop Aaron Blake, he was a pastor, and he was a counselor at a high school. And they was like, would you love to go stay with him? I was like, well, do they want me? Because no family
Nobody has wanted you.
It's been so long. I was like, do they want me for real? And so they was like, well, yeah, And so they want you there. Your brother's there right now. And it's already approved that you can go and stay there. Would you love to go? I was like, yes, when you come to get me.
He didn't look at your background?
Nothing, yeah. So, well, he probably did. He just never said anything about the background. And so she came to get me that day. I got all my stuff packed, put in the trash bag. I was ready to go. And so I got there. We pulled up to the house. As we was pulling up to his house, he had this nice big home. And I'm looking, I was like, woo, yes, it's nice, And so I got out the car, I walked up the steps, and he stopped me at the doorsteps. And he stopped me and he said, look, Diego, he said, when you come into my house, I want you to know that I'm not going to treat you like you're a foster kid. I'm going to treat you like you're my biological son. And he said, everything that you see in this house, everything that I have, he said, everything that I have, it belongs to you. Everything that's mine is yours, son. And me, I'm
getting chills.
I'm young. So the first thing I looked at was his wrist. You know, he had a nice watch on. And I guess the sun was shining from behind me, like in my eyes. And I couldn't stop staring at the watch. And I was like, whoa, he got some money there. That's what I thought. At least that's what I thought. And I was like, wow, he got some money. And then I looked to the left side of his house, and he had some nice cars over there. And I was like, whoo, Jesus, I hit the jackpot with this family. And so, and then the house was, of course, it was big. I'm looking at the house. The house is huge. And I was like, man, this is awesome, And so, so I asked him again. I said, well, Mr. Blake, you saying all of this is mine too? Everything that belongs to you, it belongs to me. He was like, yes, son.
This is on your day one?
This is on day one, yes. I'm making sure, And so, so I was just like, he was like, yes, son. He's like, everything that's mine belongs to you. And he was like, I just want you to know you are engrafted into my family. You're engrafted in, like I don't even know you yet, but you're already telling me like I'm engrafted. I didn't know what engrafted meant, but he said, man, you are engrafted into my family, and everything that belongs to me, it belongs to you, and I'm going to love you like you're my own son. Wow. So everything was good up until the point when he said, I'm going to love you like you're my own son. So when he told me he loved me, I was like, please don't tell me that.
That word again.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, I felt like he was going to take advantage of me, like everybody else have taken advantage of me. I felt like he was going to trying to ruin me. And also in my head, I'm thinking, well, I got to get you before you get me. And that's just how I was thinking, So it was me, and he had 5 other foster boys there that he told the same thing to.
Did he have his own children?
He actually had 6 biological children. And after his baby girl
were they grown, or did you all grow up together?
After his baby girl graduated, he had about a year of about an empty nest. It was just him and his wife.
Okay.
And then we all came in.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but we're like really good with him now. Right, so when he told me that he loved me, up until that point, that's kind of what I was thinking, just please don't tell me that, because love to me was hurt, it was pain. Love to me felt like the enemy.
Did you show him you were upset?
No, not at that moment. I didn't say anything to him. I just wanted to see my brother. But in my head, I was thinking, he's not going to take advantage of me like everybody else. And so we did a few different things to him, once he told us that. And we really stretched him. So I'll tell you a few things that we done. Okay, I can't tell you everything. Okay. So I can only tell you a few things. Some things he just like, Diego, don't tell it no more. Okay. So we done a few things. We done the typical things where, we snuck out.
You were teenagers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We snuck out of the house. We snuck people into the house.
Did you have parties?
Well, we didn't have parties, but we just have people like girlfriends in the house. But I say people. And so we would just sneak different people in the house. We'd take money from them. We even borrowed all of his vehicles, all the nice cars that he had from all of his cars.
Okay, when you say borrowed means you ask him, he says yes.
No. See, I used to say we stole them, but he was like, Diego, stop telling people you stole them, because I still got them. We brought them back. Right. And so we even borrowed the church van. And so, of course, he likes to tell you he was a pastor. Okay. And so the church van, we would take it out. We went on this thing called the Drag in Brownwood, Texas. And the Drag is where all these teenagers, they get their cars, they drive them up like 4 blocks and then back, then go back up. Just back and forth. It's like a big circle. And they'd turn the music up really loud and just be going crazy, jamming, But we was in this big church van, and we was just, they call this thing called, I don't know if you ever heard of this, it's called flipping. It's like when you drive, you make the car dance. And so everybody used to be like, just going back and forth. Right. So our big van was going down.
I think I've seen Queen Latifah do that in a movie.
Yes.
Okay.
Kind of how it was. So, but we was in a church van doing it, and nothing holy coming out of the van, and we're just trying to make the van dance. And it's 100 cars going back and forth, and everybody like, hey, there's those Blake boys. And we weren't thinking. The side of his, on the side of the van, his name, his church, and the phone number, and we're not thinking. We're young. We stole the van. We went out for a ride.
This is a church van.
A church van.
Yes, and nothing holy is coming out of it.
All kind of crazy music, and so So I think back now, that's the stupidest thing I've ever done. And so but we done so much to him. And he told us. He told me that he would get. This is a while later. He told us that he got calls. From the church van being out, but he never questioned us about it. So I don't know why. Or he never questioned us. But we done everything we could to break him, because he told us that I love you and I'll be there for you, and we thought he was trying to take advantage of him. He was trying to take advantage of us, and so even to the point of where we accidentally burnt his house down.
Accidentally?
So I'm gonna stop right there.
Okay. But you did burn his house down.
We burned the house down.
With all this going on, I'm trying to put myself in his shoes. I would be so upset, looking at, financially everything that you have done. It has cost them so much money, even though maybe insurance is going to replace the house or whatever, but still, I mean, I'm thinking I probably would say, you know what, they have to go back. I can't deal with this. But what did he do?
Yeah. So I'm gonna tell you that. So when the house was burning down, so everything is in flame. Everything is flaming.
Did you make sure that there was nobody in the house?
Yeah. So everybody was asleep. So it was like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. So everybody was asleep actually. And then the guy who burned it down, I can say his name now because everybody knows his name. His name is Mark Roper. Okay. So the story is out there all across the world, right? So his name is Monicah Roper, and so what actually happened is this is the story, so I still think it's a different story. So he had a candle, he had the window open, he had a candle blowing, he was playing with fire that night. But his story is that as the window was open, the candle was on, was lit, and the curtains was kind of blowing. And so it caught the curtains, and then it just went up really fast. He never had time to put it out. But we all say, well, the wind would have blew out the candle, but he was in there just playing with fire. That's just what he was doing. And it caught the curtain went up, and his room just caught on fire. And he was just in his room letting it burn. And I had a room next to his, and I woke up and I just seen his room was just lit up. I was like, what is going on? And so I went in there, I seen everything was on fire. So I started beating on everybody's door, but like, hey, Pops, the house is on fire. It was too big for us to put it out now. I remember Mark was trying to, after I started waking people up, he was trying to get water and throw it on there, but it was, his room was already blazed up. And so everybody was getting out the house. And so everybody got out of the house, and my dad, my pops, we call him Pops now. So he thought that Mark was still in the house, and by this time everything was engulfed in flames. Even the whole roof was flamed up, and so he thought Mark was still in the house. So he went back into the house. He tried to go all the way back to the back to get Mark, to make sure, hey, none of these kids died on his watch. And so when he was in there, you can just hear things just falling down, things cracking. When the fire is burning stuff, it's cracking. And so we're telling him, hey, Pops, everybody's out of the house. Everybody's out. Get out of the house. It was just flamed up. There's no way anybody could have went back in. And so you can just see things fall. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so he heard us saying, hey, everybody's out. And so he came out of the door, busted. He just kind of busted out. He had nothing but his drawers on. It's funny to this day, I think of it. And he had a pot belly with drawers. It was crazy. And so, but he came out, and he told us to go across the street to the church while they get the fire put out. And we went across the street to the church, and they got the fire and everything put out. And the same church van that we borrowed, that's no longer holy, he got in that church van and he came to the front of the church, and he told everybody to get in, and we went to Walmart right after the house burned down. And the only reason we went to Walmart is because we had no clothes. So we got clothes to go to school the next day.
You still had to go to school the next day?
The next day.
And at this time, he's not even angry, looking at the house. Oh my God, I've lost my house. He's not even...
I always tell people, on our way to Walmart, he didn't say one word. He didn't say nothing. He didn't say who did it, how it happened, what was you guys doing. And we would always be up late at night, all the time, But this night, everybody went to bed just a little early. Mark was the only one up playing with fire. And so, but he didn't ask. He didn't know who did it. He didn't care to ask or anything. He just, when we pull up to Walmart, only thing he said, hey guys, get you some clothes. And so we was getting clothes so we can go to school the next day. And of course, half of us went to school, half of us didn't, because we was in foster care. We didn't want people to know we was in foster care. We was on the football team, we had little girlfriends, and so we thought we was like little superstars at our high school. And so we didn't want anybody to know what was going on, that we was in foster care. So, and we didn't want our caseworkers to show up at school and embarrass us and take us off, to another home or somewhere else or another shelter. We thought that was our last time being there, and I had just reunited with my brother. I'm like, this is good. And so, long story short though, no caseworkers showed up. We went to football practice. We thought caseworkers was gonna be there. They wasn't there. We worked out because we was like, okay, well, if they're not here, they're gonna be at the house when we get to the house. So we just worked out until the coach kicked us out of the weight room, And so we got to the house, and there he was sitting there. And so caseworkers wasn't there. And so we went in. He said that we sat down and talked to him, and what he told us, he was like, look guys, he said, I understand what happened. He said, but I want you guys to know that no matter what you guys do, you know, no matter what you guys done. So you guys are not going nowhere. And I told you guys that you guys are engrafted in, and I'm gonna love you like you're my own. He said, so there's nothing that you guys can do that can separate my love from you.
Did you guys break down and just cry?
I looked over to one guy named Joseph, and I said, is this Black Jesus? I'm like, is this Jesus in the flesh that we're staring with? And so, but that was the very moment that we realized, like, this is what real love is. This is love. And I understood that everybody that was coming into my life before him, they wasn't coming into my life to hurt me. And I would treat them so bad because they would act like they loved me, or they would say they would. And I didn't realize that some people really did love me. I just never gave them a chance to, because I was so hurt and so messed up. But that was the first time that I experienced real love. And so, of course, we was young. We used to like sag, have our pants way down. We started pulling our pants up, tighten our belt up. We sat at the front of the class. We just wanted to honor him the best way that we could and show him a lot of honor. And I think that's one thing that changed all of our lives, and especially mine, that allowed me to start writing music about, you know, my whole situation.
Wow.